Hello friends, I am Bhaskar from Learning Tube. In this fourth video, we will discuss about process scheduling queue of operating system, which is important for GATE, NIC, ISRO and various other exams. So let's start and don't forget to share and subscribe. Here we will discuss different types of questions of operating system. The first question is, which of the following do not belong to queue for processes? Since we know that system queues are job queue, ready queue, waiting queue, device queue, input queue, output queue. All these queues are present in the system queue. So the option A, option B, option C, option D are describing job queue, option B, PCB queue. PCB queue is not a part of the system queue. Hence the answer should be B, PCB queue. Here we can see the explanation. All these queues are maintained in the system using linked list where PCB are represented their corresponding process in the queue. Now we will move on the next question. Question number 2. When the process issues an input-output request. When a process entered in an input-output queue, then it issues an input-output request. Let's see the answer. Option A. It is placed in an input-output queue. Yes, it is correct. When it is placed in an input-output queue, then the process issues an input-output request. So the answer will be A. Now we will move on the next question. Question number 3. When a process terminates. Option A. It is removed from all queue. Yes, it is correct. When a process passed from all queue and completed from all queue, then it gets terminated. Hence the process is called executed. Hence answer will be A. Now the fourth question is, what is a long-term scheduler? First we will know about scheduler. A long-term scheduler program creates new process and sends them into main memory. Similarly, short-term scheduler is also a program which only decides that which process of ready queue will be scheduled on the CPU. Middle-term scheduler. Middle-term scheduler is a program controls the degree of multiprogramming, and it can also suspend some process and send them into secondary memory, which can be resumed and swapped into main memory later on. And similarly, dispatcher is also a program which saves the data of currently executing process into its PCB and then load the data of the new process from its PCB to CPU. We will see the option A. It selects which process has to be brought into ready queue. Short-term scheduler decides which process of ready queue will be scheduled on the CPU. Hence, long-term scheduler only select the process and brought it into main memory, means ready queue. So the option A will be correct. We can see the answer. Answer is A. The fifth question is, if all process input-output bound, the ready queue will almost always be blank and the short-term scheduler will have a blank to do. Since we know that if all the process are input-output bound process, then that process will spend most of the time for input-output. So they goes to waiting state for some events and the ready queue will almost be empty at that time, and hence short-term scheduler has little to do and decide the process to schedule on the process from ready queue. So if all process are input-output bound, then ready queue will almost always be empty and the short-term scheduler will have little to do. So the option C is correct. And now the sixth question is, what is medium-term scheduler? Medium-term scheduler can be considered as middle-term scheduler, which controls the degree of multiprogramming, and it also can suspend some process and send them into secondary memory, which can be later on swapped. So the options are option A. It selects which process has to be brought into ready queue. Since we know that this work is done by the long-term scheduler, Option B, it select which process has to be executed next and allocate CPU. This is selected by the short-term scheduler. Option C, it selects which process to remove from main memory by swapping. Yes, it is correct. It is the work of medium-term scheduler, since we know that it can suspend some process and swap again into main memory later. So the option C is correct. Let's move on the next question. Question number 7. Question number 7 is, what is a short-term scheduler? Option A, it selects which process has to be brought into ready queue. It is the work of long-term scheduler. Option B, it selects which process has to be executed next and allocates CPU. Short-term schedulers only decide that which process of ready queue will be scheduled on the CPU. So the answer will be B. More correct answer will be B. Now the next question, question number 8. The primary distinction between the short-term scheduler and the long-term scheduler is. Since we know that the long-term scheduler creates new process for main memory and short-term scheduler decide which process will be scheduled on CPU, so the distinction can be made by their frequency of their execution. So here the answer will be C, frequency of their execution. Now the ninth question. The ninth question is the only state transition that is initiated by user process itself. Since we option A, block, option B, wakeup, option C, dispatch, option D, none of them mentioned. Since we know that the transition from ready state to running state is initiated by scheduler, we can see in explanation, transition from running state to ready state is initiated by scheduler in preemptive scheduling. When the user process initiates input-output operation, it goes to block state. Hence, this is initiated by user process. So here the answer will be A, block. Now the next question, question number 10. In a time-sharing operating system, when the time slot given to a process is completed, the process goes from the running state to the. If a given time slot of a process is completed in time-sharing system, then preemption will occur and hence process goes from running state to ready state. So the answer will be B, ready state. Question number 11. In a multi-programming environment, since we know that in a multi-programming system, more than one process resides in the memory. If executing process waits for some event, then instead of sitting idle, CPU will make a context switch and start executing some other process from the main memory. It is the optimal in nature. So in a multi-programming environment, more than one process resides in the memory. So the option C is correct. Now the next question, question number 12. Question number 12 is, suppose that a process is in blocked state, means it is in waiting state, waiting for some input-output service. When the service is completed, it goes to the. When we see the process state graph, then we can see when the input-output event is get completed, then it will again goes to ready state. So the answer will be ready state. When input-output event is completed, then the process goes to ready state. So here the correct answer will be ready state, option B. Now the next question, question number 13. Now the 13th question is, the context of a process in the PCB of a process does not contain. Option A, the value of the CPU register. It is the part of PCB of a process. Option B, the process state. It is also the part of the PCB of a process. Option C, memory management information. Yes, it is also the part of the PCB of a process. Option D, context switch time. No, it is not the part of the PCB of a process, so the option D is correct. Context switch time. Let's move on the next question, question number 14. Which of the following need not necessarily be saved on a context switch between process? Since we know that when the context switch occur, then programs and registers counters information are saved, but all time TLB need not necessarily be saved. So the answer will be option B, translation look aside buffer. Now the 15th question and the last question is, which of the following does not interrupt a running process? A device, option B. Timer, option C. Scheduler process, option D. Power failure. A device, timer and power failure can interrupt a running process, because if a device or timer get out, then the process will stop the execution. But the scheduler process, since we know that the scheduler process only schedules or select a process from ready queue to be run on CPU, so it cannot interrupt a running process. So the answer will be C, scheduler process. Hence all the questions are discussed. Thanks for watching my video. Stay connected and keep watching for more videos. Thank you.